This question is frequently asked, and especially at this time of pandemic, it seems particularly pertinent. So many people experience suffering at some point in life. We can look at the media and it seems to constantly show so much suffering around the world. So, can Christianity speak into this and answer such questions in the face of so much difficulty and challenge? I think it's important to mention just here that there may be someone who is sharing here today who may be experiencing difficulty and suffering themselves. Therefore, it may be hard to engage or reflect on this discussion, especially when the emotions are raw. But this does not invalidate what is said. It might mean, though, that it's something to come back to at a later stage because of the issues such a reflection may raise at such a difficult time. This is a very deep question, and many people far more learned than myself have reflected on it and wrestled with it. But the important thing for Christians is to discuss such issues and to realize that the Bible does not give simplistic answers, which is a measure of the seriousness of the question. There is an Old Testament book called Job, and it's an extended reflection on unjust suffering. And many of the Psalms, that's the Bible's songbook, speak of intense suffering. Psalm 22 is one example which Jesus quoted while on the cross. He said, my God, why have you forsaken me?" The example from Job and from the Psalms does show that we can speak passionately to God about the issues we see and face, and the pain and suffering we may experience. When people ask this question and reflect on it, they begin to answer the question themselves. Look at the suffering we see in our world. What are the causes, and where does it start? Sadly, it often starts with us human beings. War, poverty, violence, human trafficking, the migrant issues of people taking perilous sea voyages, and in some cases of disease, they are all caused by the needs and demands of the developed world. Dare I even say that it is our own selfishness for our well-being and wealth that can cause the suffering for others. Our selfishness can also create a passive acceptance of suffering. There is a saying, evil flourishes when good people do nothing. Considering the phrase, if God is a God of love, we are making a statement about the character of a God and ourselves in response to that character. God is love, and that is the biblical truth about God. The created order was brought into being because of love. It was God's will to create something that was good, something which he could love and which would love him in return. There is an important point to remember. Love cannot be forced. Love is freely given and freely received. Therefore, to love means there must be free will. There is the right to choose. We can choose to accept God's will and purpose or not. Some people may ask, why didn't God create us to do only good? But that would make us mere robots, designed to do God's will, programmed for that purpose. But that is not love. Love cannot happen in this way. There is a mutual giving and receiving in love. There is a film that's been around a while now called Bruce Almighty. Bruce always complains and blames God for everything going wrong. And so God gives Bruce the chance to be God. There is, though, one rule. He, Bruce, cannot make people love him. God created a good world. He created humans in his image to be in a loving relationship with him and to love and to care for the created order. He gives us, though, the choice to enter into that relationship freely. Of course, that is not the whole answer to suffering. Although some suffering is caused by human activity, we still have the natural disasters, such as earthquakes, or we have people getting sick and even dying. And there are no easy answers here. Yes, we can refer some of this to human activity, forcing people to live in dangerous places, for example, but that is not the total answer. The very way the world is made means that there are, for example, tectonic plates which shift and move. These cause earthquakes and tsunamis and much more. Or there are volcanoes, which are the Earth's safety valves, releasing pressure from within the earth. These are as important for our survival as the air we breathe. But could God have made it differently? Could a living planet have survived differently? I do not have the answer to that. But this is the world we live in, and we find ways to live with that tension. Many things we use have a danger to them. Cars, electricity, fire, for example. You don't blame God when the car breaks down. It often comes back to the fact that people are forced to live in areas which cannot sustain them, and that can put them in danger. Sickness and illness remind us of our own frailty. And trust me when I say, it's extremely distressing seeing someone you love fall ill, suffer, and die. So there is no glib answer to this, and this may not be satisfactory to some. But God, who is love, sees us and knows us. He recognizes we get things wrong. He recognizes the suffering and the pain in the world. Does he stand by and let it happen, bearing in mind that we have free will? Well, God has freely chosen to respond in love. The cross of Jesus, God the Son, is a response to the brokenness we see around us. Jesus suffered unjustly. He experienced grief and a loss. And he invites us to make the choice to find healing and renewal in his story. Christian faith is not an opt-out of the difficulties of life, for they will still be there. But the God of love gives the hope of a different outcome that can be found in him.